Welcome to the Catalyst Life Coaching Podcast with John Kim and Noelle Cordeaux. If you're inspired to begin your own life coaching practice or just want to learn a little bit more about what it's all about, visit JRNI.co. That's JRNI.co for more information. Your adventure awaits.
So what's your Fuck It Friday?
Oh, that's how we're starting?
That's how we're starting.
I'm not sure what my Fuck It Friday is going to be. What's your Fuck It Friday?
I am taking myself on a solo date to a concert to see a musician that I really enjoy.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's a great Fuck It Friday.
Yep.
And also, it's going to bleed into the topic we're talking about, which is self-love and self-care and self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to go on a really long motorcycle ride by myself, listening to music and just try to be present and enjoy that.
That's awesome. You've been wanting to do that for a couple days now.
Yeah, and I haven't. So
Cool.
Here we go. So
Awesome.
that's my Fuck It today. Guys, what's up? We're going to talk today about the difference between self-love and self-worth.
Worth. And how to coach someone through it. Because
Yes.
we are coaches. I'm Noelle. John, we run JRNI. John is also the Angry Therapist.
JRNI is JRNI.co.
JRNI.co. If you guys want to hang out with us, if you want to become one of our life coaches, if you want to join us at our retreats in Asheville, North Carolina, or Los Angeles, California, you can find us on JRNI.co.
Also, if you just want to be around like-minded people who are trying to live
seriously.
better, and listen, guys, use internet technology to create spaces from your home so you could be sharpened, be reminded, be supported by other people.
Yep.
We have no excuse not to be surrounded by people that are going to help us on our journey anymore.
And ours is the best crew in the world.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest,
100%.
they're the best people.
Yeah.
All right.
So, what's the difference between self-love and self-worth?
Yeah. So, and how to coach people on this. So we were talking about this on Instagram a couple minutes ago, and self-worth to me is a stance. It's an embodiment of everything that you know about yourself from a skill set perspective.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be anything super magical, For example, I'm a great friend. Mm-hmm. I'm a good cook. Mm-hmm. I'm also a really fucking badass CEO.
Agreed.
Self-worth, right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And then self-love is kind of a deeper cut. And admittedly, that's harder for me. That's the relationship with yourself. That's dating yourself.
Oh, interesting.
That's when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, you can say the words, I love you. I don't think I've really fully gotten there yet. I think I'm really solid in self-worth, but I think that self-love is a journey I still need to go on.
I also want to say that this idea of loving yourself, it doesn't come with the finish line, meaning that it's an ongoing, and this is why I don't like that term, because it could be a bumper sticker. We love ourselves like we love other people, meaning there are good days, there are bad days, there are going to be days that you don't love yourself, and that's okay. It's cumulative and it's a process, And so my definition of self-love and self-worth is, I think self-love is the action that it takes for you to build self-worth. And I think that action is an everyday thing. I don't think it's, you take a weekend seminar or you watch a few videos. It's the act of loving yourself every day that will start to build your worth.
Yeah, and I think I like putting the self-love concept in terms of the relationship, because even any relationship, whether it's colleagues or family or romantic or friends, you need to tend to the relationship with that other human. And I think we so often neglect ourselves as part of that equation.
100%. I think the relationship we have with ourselves is the most difficult.
It is. It is the most difficult.
It's easy to love someone.
Yes.
It's easy to give yourself. It's really hard to give yourself what you feel that you deserve, because many people, because of our stories and the imprints that we've had as children and the way that we were raised, don't believe that we have value or don't believe that we deserve a motorcycle ride or a concert.
Yeah.
So it's a practice.
It's a practice. So let's talk about self-worth, which is different.
Yeah.
Self-worth is more of an external embodiment of yourself. And how do you coach someone through that process? For me, when I'm working with clients on self-worth, I use a process it's called mastery experiences building towards self-efficacy. So let me break down what those two things are. Mastery experiences are where you teach yourself that you're capable of something. So just like I mentioned, I'm a good friend, I'm a good cook. I have taught myself over the years that I am both of those things by engaging in behaviors, building those skill sets, so on and so forth. Self-efficacy is the outcome of having mastery experiences. That's where you know that if there's something you don't know, because you've learned how to do other things, you know that you can figure out how to do the thing that's in front of you. Absolutely. How about you? How would you coach someone for self-worth?
I kind of bring it back to this whole idea of life, space, and container, and I think that we all have a self-esteem balloon, and for most of us, depending on the relationships that we are in, they're punctured. There's holes and they're leaking. So, for example, if you're in a toxic relationship where someone is assassinating your character or you don't feel heard or supported, it's really hard to build self-worth or self-esteem. So for me, coaching someone is first figuring out what is puncturing their self-esteem balloon. So lopsided friendships, but it can even be being treated shitty at work. It could be doing things you're not passionate about, whatever it is, and then helping them patch those slowly, and creating a space where self-esteem starts to grow naturally. And of course, that takes time.
That's interesting. And I really like that you gave kind of a secondary path to coaching someone to self-worth through relationships, because we're all surrounded by relationships. It's inevitable that we're going to have people in our lives who contribute to the way we feel about themselves. So a really important point as an individual or as a coach is to start noticing how you feel. Especially if you're entering into a new relationship. And if you've been kind of skirting along and you feel pretty good day in and day out, you look in the mirror and you're like, hey, sexy, what's up? And then all of a sudden you're in this relationship and you're starting to feel like your self-esteem is chipped away at, or your body image or your intellect or your goals are starting to morph to support somebody else instead of your own. That's a pretty good indication that the person on the other side might be taking more than giving.
Sure, and they might not even be aware of it.
Yeah.
Right, and this is where that word tools comes in. A lot of people, their intentions aren't bad, but they just don't have that self-awareness.
I have a question for you. So a lot of times I'm a woman, obviously, and so I think about this a lot from the perspective of I coach women on dating and relationships. And men seem to be really good at insidiously, and insidiously means kind of quietly cutting down a woman's self-worth through body image or intellect, that it's intimidating to have a woman who's like really a baller or who feels great about her gorgeously imperfect body.
Yes.
Do you think that happens to men too? Do you think that women project that, or do you think that it's a gendered thing?
Oh, that's really interesting. What a great question. I know part of this whole body image and stuff for women, also for men, is advertising. It's us growing up with images. I know me. So I just did an interview for a magazine, and I was telling her when I was about 10, I had two posters on my wall. One was Bruce Lee, and the other was Heather Thomas, and she was in a jacuzzi in a bikini. Heather Thomas is this actress from the 80s.
You're so dating yourself
right
she
was
now.
in I don't know. Anyway, so she's like a TV star. So, but that it put imprints in my my little brain of what beauty looks like, and it wasn't realistic. That wasn't like a normal person. It was an actress who knows what her story is, but that body image that I put in my brain as a boy wasn't a real one.
Yeah.
And then so you start measuring yourself, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, based on that, and that's not how the world is. And so there's that disconnect, distortion, and then you start putting pressure on who you're with to look a certain way or be a certain way, and that is not realistic.
No, it's not realistic, and I think that it's so important, to consistently remind ourselves of that when you're fighting for self-worth, when you're fighting for self-love, to be like, no, the projections that we see in the media, advertisements, movies, that's all photoshopped. I saw this really great post from and she was a model on Instagram, and she said, I just saw an airbrushed picture of myself, and I wondered, why can't I look like that, and realized it was me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
That's like throwing a boomerang.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I wish I looked like that. Oh shit, I do.
I do. On the phone, on my phone, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not in the mirror. Mm-hmm. The other big piece of this I want to mention when it comes to self-worth, is the connection between or maybe self-love, the connection between your body and your mind and body, since we're talking about body.
Yeah.
Most people, and I'm including myself, are very heady. We're very logical. I live from my chest, not from my belly. So I forget to breathe. And so
that's interesting.
Connecting to, and this is probably why I don't sleep, connecting to my body, being reminded of that, and getting comfortable with your body as a whole person, I think has to do with self-love, self-care, self-esteem, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Your consciousness and your body are two separate things. They're both crapshoots. Your consciousness lives in your body, and you just happen to be given the body you have, and you happen to have the consciousness that you have, and so you do have to work to integrate and connect the two. Yeah, very much so.
Let's answer a few questions.
Sure.
So someone says, "Do you think self-love makes us feel guilty?" As a mom, I always found it hard to say I was important. I need to love myself. And I think many can relate to that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We hear that question so much, and especially from the moms, right? Mm-hmm. God bless you, moms. You're in charge of these other little lives, and thank you for being a good mom. I think that you have to put your own oxygen mask on first, no matter what your responsibilities are.
Sure.
And I think especially as women, we are so trained to give and give and give, and often to martyr ourselves, because there's a large piece of our socialization that says that's where your worth comes from. It's in martyring yourself. So, I know I experienced something this week where it was Monday, and I had stuff that I really, 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 really needed to get done for work in my mind. And I really wanted to go work out. And the working out would have been really important for me to do, for myself, for my body, for my stress levels, for my mental clarity. And instead, I stayed and worked. And I felt really crappy. Right. And I think it set me up for a week where I just felt tired and drained. So understanding that giving to yourself actually makes you better is something that especially women need to start flipping the script. So
working on yourself, giving yourself self-love, self-care is going to make you a better mother, better entrepreneur, better friend, better lover. And I think a lot of people don't see it that way. They think they're being selfish because they're spending time on themselves. But they're actually being selfless because they're making themselves healthier, better for other people in their lives.
100%. And especially, as a mom, you want to model for your kids what it's like to take care of yourself. And you want your kids to know that it's really important to put yourself first, so that you can be a good partner, so that you can, be a good everything.
Yeah. I think that setting yourself up for an example, especially with kids, showing them what self-love, self-care looks like is more powerful than just telling them. Yeah. Right? So actually living it. But that's very helpful, I think, for parents.
Absolutely. So let's do a quick recap of what we talked about. We were talking about the difference between self-worth and self-love, where I think we established self-worth is this stance of knowing all of the things that you're really good at because you've earned it. You've earned that knowledge that you're really good at certain things. And then self-love is the deeper cut of the relationship with yourself. And then how do you coach people towards it? John takes a relationship focus. of looking at the balloon and all the little pin marks in the balloon.
Yes.
And saying, you know,
I take a life container, a life space approach. Noelle.
and I take a self-mastery and self-efficacy approach where you gain the little wins for yourself and then you prove to yourself that you can figure out how to do new hard things.
Right. Yeah. So a lot easier said than done.
Yes, always.
But know, guys, that self-love, self-care, all of this is a process. It's not like, you know, this one-time thing. It's a practice. It's something that both Noelle and I struggle with. But if it's something that you're aware of and that you're leaning toward and you're working on, that's everything.
Yep. And it's also a really good reason to get a coach and to come to one of our retreats.
Yes, JRNI.co.
Yep.
We will see you inside. Be well.
Have a great one.
Thanks for listening to the Catalyst Life Coaching Podcast, brought to you by JRNI. If you'd like to learn more about what you've heard on today's show, visit JRNI.co. That's JRNI.co. And request more information about the Catalyst Life Coaching Intensive, or just keep in touch.